Welcome to another episode of the Go Flush Yourself podcast with Jared Kirk and Matt Milbauer. Welcome to another episode of the Go Flush Yourself podcast. This is Matt again, solo, with another history of episode, as I guess we can start calling these. Our podcast isn't going to turn into just these types of episodes where we deep dive topics. We'll still have plenty of interviews. We have some scheduled. Talk, with flushing dog hunters and experts out there. And we'll have plenty of episodes with Jared and I talking about our goings-ons, especially as the hunting season really starts to kick off here. I see this as a supplement to our podcast to get into some topics that we're interested in inside of the upland and bird dog space. As always, your feedback is valuable. Reach out and let us know what you like and what you don't like. All right, let's get into it. This is the history of the Browning Superposed and Citori. It's 1926, and the world is a restless place. The scars of the Great War still linger. Trenches turn to memorials. Economies staggering under the weight of recovery. In a workshop in Belgium, a man in his late 60s hunches over a drafting table. His hands, weathered by decades of shaping steel and wood, trace lines that will defy the conventions of his time. His name? John Moses Browning. And he's not just designing a shotgun. He's crafting a legacy. A double-barreled dream with barrels stacked vertically. A machine that will outlive him, carry the hopes of hunters and shooters, and carve its name into the soul of the 20th century. This is the Browning Superposed. But this story doesn't end with John Browning, nor with the Superposed triumphs. It stretches forward through economic upheaval, global wars, and cultural shifts, to a successor, the Citori, that would carry the torch into a new era. This is a tale of ingenuity, ambition, and the relentless grind of progress, set against a world that never stops changing. It's about more than guns. It's about the human drive to create, to endure, to adapt. Today we're diving deep into the saga of the Browning Superposed and the Citori. This isn't just a story about shotguns. It's about the people who built them, had them, and dreamed through them. It's about the clash of craftsmanship and commerce, tradition and innovation, in a world that rarely pauses to catch its breath. So grab a seat, maybe a cup of coffee, because we're going deep on a journey through a century of steel, walnut, and human will. Part 1. The genesis of the Superposed. Let's start in the early 1920s. The world is raw, still reeling from the Great War, what we now call World War I. In America, the roaring 20s are sparking to life. Flappers dance, speakeasies thrive, and the hum of industrial progress is everywhere. Across the Atlantic in Belgium, the city of Liège is a hub of gun making, its factories churning out firearms for a world that's seen too much of them. John Moses Browning, a Utah-born inventor, is no stranger to this world. He's 71 years old, his hair gray, his eyes sharp with the kind of focus that comes from a lifetime of seeing machines before they exist. Browning's already a legend. His Auto 5 shotgun, his 1911 pistol, his machine gun, they've reshaped warfare and sport. But he's not resting on his laurels. He's got one last idea burning on his mind. An over-under shotgun. Why an over-under? To understand, we need to step into the mind of a shooter in the 1920s. Shotguns were ruled by side-by-sides, two barrels sitting shoulder to shoulder, a design rooted in the 19th century. They were reliable, sure, but flawed. The barrels diverged slightly, making precise shooting at long range a challenge. The recoil could twist the gun in your hands, throwing off your aim. And they were traditional, stodgy even. In Europe, over-unders existed, but they were the toys of aristocrats. Handcrafted works of art costing thousands. built for lords hunting grouse on Scottish moors. Browning looked at these guns and saw potential, but also saw a problem. Why should quality be locked behind wealth? Why couldn't an over-under be made for the everyman? I'm going to pause here. This should be reflecting something. If you're a student of early 20th century history, industry at all, I would think this would remind you of Henry Ford. There was cars being built in Germany, notably by Mercedes-Benz, that were expensive. The internal combustion engine was already invented. Henry Ford didn't reinvent necessarily the automobile in the way that how it mechanically worked, but he reinvented who could buy it and how it was made. And John Browning does a lot of that with the Superposed. All right, back into it. His vision was radical. A shotgun with barrels stacked vertically, sharing a single sighting plane for pinpoint accuracy. A single selective trigger to choose which barrel fired first. A feature so innovative, it's still standard today. A reinforced hinge mechanism to keep the breech tight after thousands of rounds. And crucially, a price that wouldn't bankrupt a farmer or a factory worker. Browning wasn't just designing a gun. He was democratizing precision. But tragedy struck. On November 26, 1926, John Moses Browning died in his workshop in Belgium. He was working on the Superposed right up until the end. His sketches unfinished, his dream unrealized. Enter his son, Val Browning, a man shaped by his father's genius but determined to carve his own path. Val took those sketches, those fragments of a vision, and brought them to life. By 1931, after navigating the early years of the Great Depression, the Browning Superposed hit the market. The Superposed was a revelation. Priced at $100, about $1,400 in today's money, it wasn't cheap, but it was a bargain compared to European over-unders that cost as much as a house. It came in grades, the grade 1, or lightning, a no-frills workhorse. The Pigeon, with elegant engravings, the Diana, a hunter's dream with intricate detailing, and the Midas, a gold-inlaid masterpiece for the elite. The action was butter smooth, the balance perfect. Hunters in the Dakotas, skeet shooters in California, and trap competitors in New York all took notice. This wasn't just a shotgun, it was a statement. American ingenuity built in Belgium for the world. Let's linger here. Imagine you're a hunter in 1931. The Depression has gutted your town, banks are closing, jobs are scarce. You walk into a gun shop and there it is, a Superposed. It's walnut stock, glowing under the light. It's blued steel cool to the touch. You heft it, feel its weight, and for a moment, the world's troubles fade. This gun isn't just a tool. It's a promise of crisp mornings in the field, of pheasants fleshing, of stories you'll tell your grandkids. Can you feel the weight of that moment? The weight of hope in a world that's falling apart? Part 2. The Golden Age and the Gathering Storm. The Superposed landed like a comet, but its timing was brutal. The Great Depression was strangling economies worldwide. In America, bread lines stretched around city blocks. In Belgium, factories felt the pinch. A $100 shotgun, revolutionary as it was a luxury many could not afford. Yet for those who could, hunters, sportsmen, and the well-to-do, the Superposed was a beacon. From 1931 to 1940, it built a reputation for durability and elegance. Its single selective trigger, a marvel of engineering, let shooters switch barrels with a flick, adapting to any target. Its full-width hinge pin and underlug bolts made it a tank, capable of firing tens of thousands of rounds without loosening. This was John Browning's final gift, and it was built to last. Then came World War II. In 1940, Nazi Germany invaded Belgium, and the factories were repurposed for the war effort. Superposed production ground to a halt. Across the world, the focus shifted from hunting fields to battlefields. The Superposed, like so much else, was shelved. Its future uncertain. But when the war ended in 1945, the world was ready to rebuild, and so was Browning. By 1948, production resumed, and the Superposed roared back. The 12 gauge, the original workhorse, was joined by a 20 gauge in 1949, followed by 28 gauge and 410 models in 1962. Suddenly, the Superposed wasn't just a gun, it was a family, adaptable to every shooter, from quail hunters in Texas to skeet champions in London. The 1950s and early 1960s were the Superposed golden age. Picture a trap range in 1955, somewhere in the American heartland. The air smells of gunpowder and cut grass. A shooter steps to the line. A Superposed lightning on his shoulder. He calls, "Pull!" and a clay arcs it into the sky. The gun swings, the trigger breaks clean, and the clay explodes into dust. The crowd nods in approval. This is the era of post-war optimism, of suburban growth and outdoor culture. The Superposed is everywhere, on magazine covers, in hunting lodges, in the hands of Olympians. Sales climb, with nearly 200,000 units sold by the mid-1960s. But let's zoom out. The Superposed success wasn't just about the gun. It was about the world it inhabited. The 1950s were a time of prosperity in America, a time when the middle class could dream of owning a piece of craftsmanship. Hunting was a cultural cornerstone. From rural farms to elite clubs, the Superposed fit perfectly. A symbol of aspiration and achievement, it wasn't just a tool, it was a status symbol, a way to say, "I've made it." Yet, storm clouds were gathering. By the late 1960s, the economics of gun making were shifting. Labor costs in Belgium were rising, and handcrafted Superposed was getting expensive. By 1970, a Grade 1 Superposed cost $700, which is over $5,500 in today's dollar bills. The gun meant for the everyman was slipping out of reach. Meanwhile, competitors like Remington and Winchester were flooding the market with low-cost pump actions and semi-autos. Browning's executives faced a choice: let the Superposed become a relic, or find a new way forward. Their answer would change the game. Part 3. The Birth of the Citori. It's 1971. The world is turbulent. Vietnam drags on. The counterculture challenges tradition. And global trade is reshaping industries. Browning looks to Japan, to the Maruku factory. Maruku wasn't an unknown. They've been crafting firearms since the 19th century, and even produced an over-under inspired by the Superposed. In 1965, John Val Browning, John Moses' grandson, visited Maruku and saw a factory that could blend precision with efficiency. The stage was set for a new chapter. Enter the Citori. Introduced in 1973. Let's be clear. The Citori wasn't a replacement for the Superposed. It was a lifeline, a way to keep the over-under dream alive in a world where costs were spiraling. The Citori took the Superposed core, its box-lock action, full-width hinge pin, and single selective trigger, and streamlined it. The fore-end was redesigned to be removable, unlike the Superposed fixed fore-end, saving production time. The receiver was steel, not alloy, for durability, and the price? A stunning $325, less than half the cost of a Superposed, around $2,000 in today's money. The Citori was a gamble, but it hit the mark. It wasn't just affordable, it was excellent. Built with hand-fitted parts and polished blue finish, it retained the Superposed soul while embracing modern manufacturing. It came in 12, 20, 28, and 410 gauges, with barrel lengths from 26 up to 32. Early models had fixed chokes, but by the late 1980s, Invector Plus screw-in chokes added versatility. Hunters in the Midwest, skeet shooters in California, and trap shooters in Europe embraced it. By the 1990s, over 1 million Citoris had been sold, making it the best-selling over-under in American history. But let's not gloss over the controversy. The Citori faced skepticism. Purists scoffed at its Japanese origins. Belgium was the heart of fine gunmaking, after all. Some called it a, quote, budget Superposed, lacking the handcrafted finesse of its predecessor. And yet, the Citori proved itself. It was a workhorse, built to take a beating in the field or on the range. Stories abound of Citoris firing 100,000 rounds without a hiccup. their actions still tight as the day they were made. Let's paint a picture. It's 1975, and you're a young shooter at a local skeet club. Your dad hands you his new Citori. Its stock still smelling of fresh oil. You're nervous. Your buddies are shooting Winchesters, and there's a guy with a Superposed looking like he stepped out of a magazine. You step to the station, load 2 shells, and call for the bird. The Citori swings like an extension of your body, and the clay shatters. You're hooked. That moment, that connection, is what the Citori was built for. The Citori's rise wasn't just about a shotgun. It was about a world in transition. The 1970s saw Japan emerge as a manufacturing titan. Think Toyota cars, Sony Electronics, Seiko watches, and now Moroku shotguns. The Citori was a product of globalization, a bridge between old world craftsmanship and new world efficiency. It carried John Browning's vision into an era he never could have imagined, proving that innovation isn't just about invention, it's about adaptation. Part 4. The Superposed Twilight in the Citori's Rise. By 1977, the Superposed was on the ropes. Rising costs in Belgium made mass production untenable, and Citori's success cast a long shadow. That year, Browning dropped the Superposed from its standard catalog, taking it just to custom orders through the Browning International Custom Shop. A bespoke Superposed, like the B25, could cost $30,000 to $80,000 for high-grade models, with engravings of doves, quail, or custom scenes. There were no longer guns for hunters. They were heirlooms for collectors, art pieces for the elite. But the Superposed never vanished. Limited production continued in Belgium, and the used market thrived. A well-worn Grade 1 might sell for $1,000, while pristine pre-1939 models or rare variants like the 71 to 76 long-tame flat knob fetched thousands more. The saltwood era from 1966 to 71, when poorly cured walnut caused corrosion, became a cautionary tale for collectors, but clean examples were gold. The Superposed became a cult classic, a reminder of a time when guns were crafted like violins. Meanwhile, the Citori evolved. By the 1980s, it offered over 40 variants, lightweight hunting models, heavy trap guns, even youth models. The Invector Plus choke system, introduced in 1988, let shooters swap chokes for different patterns, from tight trap shots to wide-open quail flushes. The Citori 725, launched in 2012, brought a lower-profile receiver and the Firelight mechanical trigger. In 2023, the Citori Composite shocked purists with its synthetic stock, a nod to modern materials in a world far from John Browning's walnut dreams. In 2024, the Citori 825 debuted, blending the Firelight 2 trigger with classic styling, proving the Citori could evolve without losing its roots. The Citori's dominance wasn't just about numbers. Over 2 million sold by 2025. It was about accessibility. A farmer in Iowa, a lawyer in Chicago, a teenager in Georgia, they could all afford a Citori. It wasn't a status symbol like the Superposed. It was a companion, a tool for the field and range, yet it carried the same DNA, the same commitment to quality that John Browning instilled a century earlier. Part 5. The Human Story and the Weight of Legacy. Let's zoom back out, way out. What does the story tell us? The Superposed and Citori aren't just shotguns. They're mirrors, reflecting the human condition. John Browning's final design was a love letter to shooters, a belief that excellence should be within reach. The Superposed carried that dream through the Depression, wars, and booms, a testament to craftsmanship in an age of mass production. The Citori took that dream and ran with it, making the Over-Under a household name in a world driven by cost and scale. Imagine you're in a field, now 2025. Your Citori 825 is in your hands. Its composite stock light but solid. A covey of quail explodes from the brush and you swing, the gun moving like an extension of your will. The shot connects, and for a moment, you're linked to a century of history. To John Browning's sketches, to Val's determination, to the craftsmanship in Belgium and in Japan, who turned dreams into steel. This isn't just a hunt. It's a ritual, a connection to the past. But there's a shadow here. The superposed decline reminds us that even the best ideas can fall to economics. The Citori's rise shows how adaptation can triumph, but at a cost. Some of the artistry was lost, traded for affordability. Both guns tell a story of balance, of holding on to what matters, while embracing what's necessary. They're artifacts of a world where tradition and progress are in constant tension. What's the lesson? Maybe it's that legacy isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. John Browning didn't live to see his superposed succeed, but his vision shaped a century. The Citori, born from necessity, carry that vision into a new age, proving that a good idea can endure if it's willing to change. Together, they remind us that history isn't just about what we build, it's what we carry forward, what we pass down, what we choose to remember. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you learned some things today about Browning, about over-unders, the superposed, the Citori. Remember, this is an independent podcast. We're not affiliated with Browning or its parent company. All the information that we put together for this is based on public sources and opinions. It's not professional advice. I'm not a historian. Don't take it as such. Some content may be used under fair use for commentary. Well, we did our best to make this as accurate as possible. Remember, it is for entertainment purposes only. And if you think we made an error, let us know. We'll be happy to issue a correction or retraction as appropriate. Thanks for listening to the Go Flush Yourself podcast. You can continue the conversation on our Discord server. The link is in the podcast description. You can also follow along with Matt and Jared on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to support the podcast, you can subscribe to the Go Flush Yourself on Patreon for the easy monthly cost of only $2. You can also check out our shop and pick up a Go Flush Yourself sticker, shirt, or other merchandise. All links are in the podcast description.